Friday night, you're exhausted. You don't want to cook. You head to the freezer aisle and grab a frozen pizza. It's a safe choice, right? Quick, easy, reliable. But what if I told you that most frozen pizzas in Canadian grocery stores are engineered to look good on the package and taste terrible on your plate? What if the brands you've trusted for years are quietly cutting corners while raising prices? What if you're paying premium dollars for bottom-tier ingredients? Over the past 2 months, I've purchased and tested every major frozen pizza brand available in Canadian stores. I analyzed ingredients. I baked them according to package directions. I evaluated crust quality, topping integrity, sauce balance, and overall value. What I discovered will completely change how you shop. These are the 7 frozen pizza brands Canadians must stop buying. And by the end, I'll tell you which brands are actually worth your money. Let's expose them. Number 7. No-name budget frozen pizza from Loblaws. Price: $2.99 to $3.99 depending on the variety. The bright yellow packaging promises value. Budget-friendly. Simple, honest. But here's what you're actually getting. The ingredient list is a masterclass in ultra-processing. Enriched wheat flour, modified milk ingredients, modified palm oil, glucose fructose, bacterial culture, microbial enzyme, soy lecithin, sodium aluminum phosphate. This isn't food. This is a chemistry experiment pretending to be pizza. Look at the cheese. It's not mozzarella. It's pizza mozzarella cheese product, which is code for a cheese-like substance that contains milk ingredients but doesn't meet the legal definition of actual cheese. It melts, it browns, but it doesn't taste like real cheese. It tastes like salt and oil. The crust structure is weak. Bake it according to package directions, and it comes out brittle. Not crispy, brittle. Pick up a slice and it breaks in half before it reaches your mouth. The bottom is pale and undercooked even when the top is browning. That's a sign of poor dough formulation and inadequate baking instructions. But here's the truly insulting part. The artificial flavor overload. Every bite tastes like salt, fake herb seasoning, and industrial processing. There's no actual pizza flavor. No tomato brightness, no cheese richness, just chemicals and sodium. And despite the low price, this is extremely poor value. You're paying $4 for something that tastes worse than gas station pizza. Your time and your appetite are worth more than this. This is the frozen pizza equivalent of eating cardboard with ketchup. Number 6. Old Nestlé and Legacy pizza lines are still in circulation. Here's something most Canadians don't know. Nestlé exited the frozen pizza business in Canada. They sold off brands. They discontinued lines. But many stores still carry leftover stock from that transition period. These pizzas are sitting in freezer sections across the country, months old, sometimes over a year old, and grocery stores are still selling them because they're trying to clear inventory. The problem? Frozen pizza doesn't last forever. Quality degrades over time, even when frozen. I purchased a Nestlé-era pizza from a smaller independent grocer in Ontario. The best before date was still technically valid, but the packaging showed signs of freezer burn, small ice crystals visible through the plastic. When I opened it, the cheese had a crystallized texture. The pepperoni was dark around the edges. These are clear indicators of aging product. After baking, the ingredient freshness was noticeably poor. The cheese didn't melt smoothly. It separated in pooled oil. The sauce tasted stale. Not spoiled, but definitely not fresh. The crust was dense and gummy. This is what happens when frozen products sit too long. Here's my advice. Check the production date, or best before date before buying any frozen pizza. If it's more than 6 months out from production, pass. And if you see brands that don't exist anymore or packaging that looks dated, that's old stock. Walk away. You're not getting a bargain. You're getting a pizza that's been sitting in a warehouse or freezer for months, slowly degrading in quality. Number 5. Dr. Oetker Thin Crust. Certain Canadian varieties. Price: $5.99 to $7.99. Dr. Oetker is a German company with a strong reputation in Europe. Their Canadian line should deliver quality. Right? Wrong. The thin crust varieties suffer from a critical flaw. They're undertopped. Open the box and you'll see a sparse scattering of cheese and toppings. The ratio of crust to toppings is completely off. You're eating mostly bread with a suggestion of pizza flavor. Bake it according to directions, and the crust becomes brittle. Not thin and crispy like a proper Italian pizza. Brittle and dry like a cracker. Pick it up and it shatters. This isn't texture. This is structural failure. But here's the real problem. Heavy salt masking weak flavor. The sauce is aggressively salty. The cheese is salty. Even the crust has a noticeable salt content. Why? Because when ingredients are low quality, manufacturers compensate with salt and sugar. Your taste buds register something strong and you assume it's flavor. But it's not. It's just sodium. A single serving, which is 1/3 of a pizza, contains 690 to 780 milligrams of sodium depending on the variety. That's 30% of your daily recommended intake from a few slices of frozen pizza, and you're paying $8 for this privilege. This is premium pricing, without premium experience. Dr. Oetker is charging $7 or $8 for a pizza that delivers less topping coverage than a $4 budget brand. The European reputation doesn't translate to Canadian quality. You're paying for a brand name, not better pizza. Before we continue to the next brand, which honestly shocked me with how bad it was, take a second to subscribe and hit like. It helps push this investigation to Canadians who need to see it. Number 4. Tikka-style replacement brands that rushed onto shelves in the post-Delissio era. When Nestlé sold Delissio to an investment group, the Canadian frozen pizza market fractured. Multiple brands launched or rebranded trying to fill the gap. Some succeeded, many didn't. The failures share common problems. First, poor sauce balance. Too much sugar. Not enough acidity. The sauce tastes more like ketchup than pizza sauce. Real pizza sauce should have a bright, slightly acidic tomato flavor with herbs. These brands taste sweet and flat. Second, spongy crust after baking. Follow the package directions, and the crust comes out with a weird, sponge-like texture. It's neither crispy nor chewy. It's soft, but in an unpleasant way. Press your finger into it, and it slowly springs back. That's a sign of poor gluten development and too much moisture retention. Third, the visual deception. These pizzas look premium in the package. The photography on the box is beautiful. Golden crust, generous toppings, fresh ingredients. You expect restaurant quality, then you bake it, and reality hits. The crust is pale, the toppings are sparse, the cheese barely covers the sauce. This is the looks premium eats budget trap. Companies know consumers make purchasing decisions based on packaging, so they invest heavily in premium photography and design while cutting costs on actual ingredients. You're being sold an illusion. I tested 3 different Rustica-style replacement brands. All 3 disappointed. One had so much oil in the cheese that it pooled in orange puddles on the surface. Another had a crust so dense it was like eating wet bread. A third had toppings that tasted freezer burnt despite being well within the best before date. These brands are trying to compete on price while appearing premium. It doesn't work. You can't deliver quality at budget pricing without cutting corners. And Canadian consumers are the ones suffering for it. Number 3. Motor City-style deep dish from the Costco Canada line. This ranking will surprise people. Costco is known for value. Their pizza is legendary. So why is this one on the list? Because batch inconsistency is a massive problem. I purchased this pizza 3 times over 2 months from 2 different Costco locations. The quality varied wildly. The first was actually decent. Thick crust, generous cheese, acceptable sauce. The second was a grease bomb. Cut into it, and oil literally ran off the slice. The cheese was swimming in orange grease. The third had texture problems. The crust collapsed after cooling. Within 15 minutes of coming out of the oven, the structure failed. This is the problem with high-volume production. Costco moves massive quantities of frozen pizza. Quality control becomes difficult. Ingredients vary by supplier. Production lines change, and consumers get inconsistent products. But here's what really concerns me: grease saturation. Even the good batches have significant grease content. Blot a slice with a paper towel and you'll see orange oil soaking through. That's not cheese fat. That's low-quality cheese product and added oils. Real mozzarella releases some fat when melted, but not this much. The Motor City style is overhyped by visuals. It looks amazing, thick, loaded, indulgent, but the eating experience underwhelms. The crust is heavy and dense. The sauce is too sweet. The cheese ratio overwhelms everything else. By the 3rd slice, you're not enjoying it anymore. You're just full and slightly nauseous. For the price point, which is around $12 to $14 depending on sales, this should be consistently excellent. Instead, it's a gamble. Sometimes you get acceptable pizza, sometimes you get a greasy disappointment. That's not good enough. Number 2. Generic store stone-baked private labels from multiple chains. Metro, Sobeys, Walmart. They all have versions of these. Premium packaging, stone-baked branding, artisan promises. Price: $6.99 to $8.99. Here's the truth. These pizzas are manufactured by the same third-party producers making budget brands. They're not artisan. They're industrial products with better marketing. The stone-baked label is technically accurate, but meaningless. Industrial ovens can have stone decks. That doesn't make the pizza artisan quality. The frozen dough flavor dominates. Bite into these pizzas, and the first thing you notice is that distinct frozen dough taste. Yeasty, slightly chemical. It overwhelms any other flavor. Real pizza dough, even frozen, shouldn't taste like this. This is a sign of low-quality flour, rushed fermentation, and chemical dough conditioners. Topping authenticity is minimal. The stone-baked Mediterranean vegetable variety I tested had toppings that tasted more like they'd been in a jar than fresh frozen. The peppers were mushy. The zucchini was waterlogged. The olives tasted like they'd been sitting in brine for months. None of it tasted fresh or authentic. But here's what should concern health-conscious Canadians: poor digestion after consumption. Multiple people I know who tested these pizzas reported the same issue: bloating, discomfort, feeling heavy hours after eating. That's typically a sign of highly processed ingredients, excessive sodium, and poor quality oils. Check the ingredient lists on these pizzas. You'll find modified palm oil, modified cornstarch, glucose fructose, and multiple preservatives. These aren't artisan ingredients. These are industrial additives designed to extend shelf life and cut costs. You're paying $8 or $9 for marketing, not quality. The store makes a higher margin on private label products, so they push them aggressively. But the actual pizza is no better than a $4 budget brand. You're being scammed by packaging and branding. Number 1. Ultra cheap party pack pizzas. Multi-pack budget lines sold at warehouse stores and discount grocers. Price: $9.99 to $12.99 for 3 or 4 pizzas. $2 or $3 per pizza. Sounds like incredible value. But here's what you're actually buying. These pizzas represent the lowest ingredient standards legally allowed in Canada. The cheese is the minimum required to call it cheese product. The sauce is mostly water, tomato paste, and sugar. The crust is made from the cheapest refined flour with maximum chemical dough conditioners. The pepperoni, if there is any, is mechanically separated meat formed into circles. Bake one of these pizzas, and the artificial aftertaste is immediate. It lingers in your mouth long after you've finished eating. That chemical coating on your tongue isn't normal. That's residue from artificial flavors, preservatives, and low-quality oils. The nutritional profile is the worst in the category. A single serving contains 380 to 450 calories, 15 to 19 grams of fat, 800 to 920 milligrams of sodium, and 6 to 8 grams of sugar. Those numbers don't even include side dishes or drinks. Eat one of these pizzas, and you've consumed half your daily sodium allowance and a full day's worth of refined carbs. But here's what truly disturbs me. These pizzas are marketed as family-friendly, party food, kid-approved. Parents buy them thinking they're getting a bargain for feeding multiple children. But you're not feeding your family. You're giving them ultra-processed food that provides minimal nutrition and maximum additives. I tested 2 different party pack brands. Both were inedible. Not bad. Inedible. I took 3 bites of each and threw the rest away. The flavor was so artificial, so chemical, so far removed from actual pizza that I couldn't finish them. And I've eaten a lot of frozen pizza for this investigation. This is the one I recommend Canadians eliminate first. If you have these in your freezer right now, throw them out. They're not worth eating, even for free. Your body deserves better. Your family deserves better. Spend the extra $3 and buy a single decent pizza instead of 3 terrible ones. Now, let's talk about what you should be buying instead. Because not all Canadian frozen pizza is terrible. There are brands that deliver legitimate quality, real ingredients, and honest value. I tested these too, and the difference is night and day. President's Choice, specifically their selected premium lines, consistently delivered. Real cheese, properly fermented dough, balanced sauce. The wood-fired thin crust variety was genuinely impressive for a grocery store frozen pizza. For Canadians in Ontario, Piano frozen pizzas are available at select locations. These are restaurant-quality pizzas made by an actual Toronto pizzeria and sold frozen. The ingredient quality is exceptional. You're paying more, $8 to $12 per pizza, but you're getting legitimate artisan product. Piewood-fired pizza, also Ontario-based, offers frozen versions of their restaurant pizzas. The crust is properly charred. The toppings are restaurant quality. This is what frozen pizza should be. In Quebec, Pizzeria Magpie from Montreal and La Station both offer frozen pizzas that maintain restaurant quality, real ingredients, proper technique. These brands prove that frozen pizza doesn't have to be a compromise. In my next video, I'm doing a deep dive into the 5 frozen pizza brands in Canada that are actually worth your money. I'll cover where to find them, what to expect, and which varieties deliver the best value. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Here's what Canadians need to understand. The frozen pizza market in Canada quietly shifted after Delicio's exit from Nestlé. Multiple brands rushed in trying to capture market share. Some invested in quality. Most cut corners and relied on marketing. Consumers are unknowingly paying more for lower quality. Prices have increased 20 to 40% over the past 3 years, but ingredient quality has dropped. You're getting less for more, and most people don't realize it because they don't compare ingredient lists or evaluate texture and taste critically. The grocery industry is banking on consumer indifference. They assume you'll grab whatever's on sale or whatever packaging looks appealing. They assume you won't read ingredients. They assume you won't notice the difference between real cheese and cheese product. And for most consumers, they're right. But you're watching this video, which means you care. You want better, you deserve better. And now you know which brands to avoid and why. So here's my question. Which frozen pizza have you been buying? Did your usual brand make this list? Drop a comment and let me know. I'm genuinely curious how many Canadians have been eating these disappointing pizzas without realizing how bad they are. If this investigation helped you, hit the like button. It tells YouTube to recommend this to more Canadians who need to see it. And subscribe for the follow-up video covering the brands actually worth buying. Next up, I'm investigating something even more shocking. A popular Canadian restaurant chain with kitchen practices that will make you never eat there again. You need to see what we found. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, and for the love of decent food, stop buying those party pack pizzas.